I have thoroughly enjoyed my first New Testament course. The whole reason I began this program was to dive deeper into the Bible and understand it in a more meaningful way. I personally love taking some of the smaller parts and dissecting them, figuring out what the scripture really means. And in doing that, I believe I get to know who Jesus is more. I loved our assault exercises that we did. I chose for my parable going through Luke 16 with the shrewd manager. And looking at that parable, there's a clear message for the first century listeners, but there's another truthful, clear message for listeners now. And in knowing that, when I look at parables now, I'm going to look at it as to who was Jesus talking to in the original context, and how is he talking to us now, and it makes his truth even abound more. I loved looking at the synoptic problem, which I don't really view as a problem. I just view as a treasure hunt for truth. I'd never heard of a Q source. I now know what that is. I chose the fairer hypothesis that doesn't use the Q source until they find it. It's kind of a hearsay to me. But knowing how the Gospels are written, kind of in what order they're in, I think that really helps you see who Jesus is. I loved in our discussions talking about in Revelation 3:16, talking about the water being lukewarm, neither hot nor cold. I definitely have done talks where I've said that text wrong because I didn't know the historical background to it, and I'm glad that I do now, and I can have those conversations. I loved looking at the Gospels vertically and horizontally. It's interesting to see how Jesus spoke to the Gospel writers individually and how those writers see Jesus in his Christology, and then also looking at them horizontally, how they fill gaps in each other and give you a full look of who Jesus is. I loved looking at Hebrews and James, seeing how they were written for the original audience, and again, written for us now. It just changes my perspective. And then noticing the Christology of Jesus. How does he relate to me in all these different aspects? I just get to know him more, and I love that about that. So thank you for this course.